The greatest illusion of the modern age is the belief that a life fully exposed to the world is a life fully lived. We have built a civilization that treats attention as currency and visibility as proof of existence, trapping the human soul in a relentless cycle of broadcasting, reacting, and performing. Most men are completely terrified of an empty room and a silent phone because when the external noise stops, the internal mirror is finally held up to their faces. In that quiet space, they do not see a sovereign master of their fate. They see a fragile collection of borrowed opinions, suppressed anxieties, and an insatiable hunger for the validation of strangers. They flee from loneliness because they have never learned the distinction between isolation and solitude. To the uninitiated, being alone feels like a punishment, an exile from the collective warmth of the tribe. But to the philosopher, to the strategist, and to anyone who has ever achieved an unshakable inner life, solitude is the ultimate weapon, the holy sanctuary where power is quietly consolidated, far away from the manipulative currents of the public square. Marcus Aurelius did not endure the betrayal of his closest generals, the ravages of the Antonine Plague, and the crushing weight of ruling the entire Roman world by seeking the approval of the Senate or chasing the applause of the masses. He survived and indeed thrived by practicing a psychological retreat into his own mind every single day. He wrote that men seek retreats for themselves, houses in the country, seashores and mountains, and you too are wont to desire such things very much. But this is altogether a mark of the most common sort of men. For it is in your power whenever you shall choose to retire into yourself. For there is no retreat that is more quiet or more free from trouble than a man's own soul. When you learn this secret, you realize that loneliness is not an affliction to be cured, but an immense untamed territory waiting to be conquered. The moment you stop fearing your own company, you break the ultimate chain of human dependency. You stop being a puppet whose strings are pulled by the whims of fashion, the malice of critics, or the unpredictable turns of fortune. To understand the hidden power of staying alone and saying less, you must master the fundamental blueprint of Stoicism, which begins with the radical realization of the dichotomy of control. This principle demands that we divide the entirety of existence into two uncompromising categories: the things that are entirely up to us, and the things that are completely outside of our power. Up to us are our opinions, our desires, our aversions, and our deliberate choices. Not up to us are our bodies, our property, our reputations, and the actions of other human beings. The vast majority of psychological suffering occurs because men invest their emotional energy into the second category, begging the world to give them good health, high status, and favorable reviews, while completely neglecting the vast kingdom of their own character. When you choose to disappear from the public eye, when you practice strategic scarcity and silence, you are making a conscious decision to withdraw your energy from the things you cannot control and focus it entirely on the things you can. You stop trying to convince people of your worth, you stop arguing with fools, and you stop auditioning for a society that cares absolutely nothing for your virtue. There is an immense, almost terrifying power in the man who knows how to keep his plans hidden and his mouth closed. In a culture where everyone is desperately screaming to be noticed, the individual who chooses to remain silent becomes an impenetrable enigma. When you broadcast your goals, your ambitions, and your daily progress, you are actively draining the psychological pressure required to actually execute them. Behavioral science confirms what the Stoics knew over 2,000 years ago, that when you share your intentions with others, your brain receives a premature release of dopamine, tricking you into feeling the satisfaction of the achievement without ever having endured the brutal work required to earn it. The modern trap is to boast first and labor second. The Stoic path demands the exact opposite. You must work in absolute darkness. Let the world wonder why you have withdrawn. Let them speculate on your absence, and let them think you have failed or disappeared entirely. Your task is to allow the pressure of your ambition to build up within you like steam in a sealed engine, channeling every ounce of that energy into the silent, unyielding execution of your duties. This practice of strategic scarcity naturally requires a form of radical self-discipline that few people in the modern era possess. It is the discipline of delaying gratification and refusing to react to external provocations. When someone slights you, insults you, or attempts to diminish your character, the primitive instinct within your biology screams for retaliation. Your ego demands that you defend your honor, correct the record, and strike back with equal or greater force. But the moment you engage with a critic or a provocateur, you have surrendered your psychological sovereignty. You have allowed their ignorance to dictate your emotional state, transforming yourself into a reactive machine whose peace of mind can be compromised by a single word or gesture. Epictetus taught his students that if a person gave your body away to any passerby, you would be furious. Yet you hand over your mind to anyone who happens to insult you, leaving it spoiled and confused. Silence is the ultimate shield against this vulnerability. When you refuse to respond to an insult, you create a profound vacuum that sucks the power out of the aggressor's malice. You demonstrate that their opinion is so utterly insignificant to your moral worth that it does not even warrant the vibrations of your vocal cords. This immunity to criticism is not a shield constructed out of arrogance or spite. It is the natural consequence of holding your own character as the sole judge of value. Most men are deeply insecure because they have outsourced their self-esteem to the external world. If the crowd praises them, they soar with unearned confidence. If the crowd condemns them, they sink into depression and self-loathing. This is a miserable, fragile way to exist. A true Stoic treats the praise and the blame of the crowd with the exact same level of cool, detached indifference. They recognize that a good thing is not made better by a compliment, nor is a bad thing made worse by an insult. An emerald does not lose its beauty because someone fails to notice its deep green hue, and gold remains gold, even when it is buried deep within the dirt, unnoticed by human eyes. When you spend significant time alone, intentionally detached from the constant commentary of the tribe, you develop a clear, objective metric for your own actions. You look into the mirror of your own conscience and ask whether you acted with justice, wisdom, courage, and temperance. If you have done so, the opinions of all the billions of people on this earth cannot add a single grain of worth to your soul. And if you have failed to act with virtue, their highest praises are nothing but empty noise. Furthermore, this deliberate cultivation of silence and solitude is the very forge in which we learn the supreme art of transforming obstacles into raw material for our own evolution. The Stoics lived by the doctrine of amor fati, the unconditional love of one's fate, regardless of how brutal, unfair, or painful that fate might appear on the surface. When a sudden crisis strikes the ordinary individual, whether it is a betrayal by a trusted ally, the collapse of a business, or a period of forced, painful isolation, their immediate response is to lament their misfortune. They demand to know why this is happening to them, filling the air with complaints and wasting the precious mental energy that could be used to solve the problem. The silent strategist, however, receives the blow without a single word of protest. They do not seek pity, nor do they indulge in the cheap comfort of victimhood. Instead, they retreat into the quiet sanctuary of their own mind, strip the event of its emotional labels, and analyze it with cold, calculating rationality. They understand that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. If they are abandoned, they use the loneliness to master self-reliance. If they are slandered, they use the criticism to test their immunity to human opinion. Whatever life throws into their fire is consumed and turned into a brighter flame. Consider the immense historical precedent for this approach to existence. Think of Cato the Younger, the Roman statesman who stood as an unyielding pillar of virtue during the chaotic collapse of the Roman Republic. Cato was famous for his absolute indifference to fashion, his rigorous self-discipline, and his deliberate use of silence. He would often walk through the streets of Rome barefoot and bareheaded, wearing clothes that were completely out of style, intentionally exposing himself to the ridicule and laughter of the public. He did not do this out of eccentric vanity. He did it as a profound spiritual exercise to train his mind to fear nothing except moral failure. By forcing himself to endure the mockery of the crowd for trivial things, he built an unshakable psychological armor that allowed him to stand firm against corruption, bribery, and the terrifying military might of Julius Caesar. Cato knew that if you can conquer the internal weakness that craves the approval of your peers, you become entirely unmanageable by any tyrant. He spoke only when his words were absolutely necessary, and when he did speak, the entire Senate fell silent, because they knew his voice was the pure manifestation of reason, uncorrupted by personal ambition or the desire to please. When you begin to emulate this ancient wisdom and implement the practice of staying alone and saying less, you will find that your entire relationship with your environment undergoes a profound transformation. People are naturally unnerved by an individual who cannot be easily read, predicted, or manipulated. In an era dominated by oversharing and emotional leakage, your silence will act as a powerful filter, screening out the toxic, chaotic, and low-value individuals who thrive on drama and constant external attention. You will notice that when you refuse to fill every gap in conversation with meaningless chatter, your words begin to carry an immense gravity-like weight. When you choose to speak only after deep, deliberate reflection, your statements become authoritative, and others are forced to listen because they know you are not merely making noise to soothe your own insecurity. You become like a deep, still ocean. Men cannot easily see the bottom of your mind, and because they cannot fathom your depths, they approach you with an inherent degree of caution and respect. This boundary is not a wall built out of hatred for humanity, but a necessary fortress designed to protect the clarity of your reason from the chaotic neurosis of the collective. Achieving this state of inner sovereignty is not a matter of luck, nor is it a talent reserved for the philosophers of old. It is a daily, compounding habit of choosing the difficult internal path over the easy external escape. It means waking up every single morning and resolving to conquer the internal parasite that begs you to seek comfort, to check the opinions of others, and to scatter your attention across 1,000 trivial distractions. It means actively seeking out periods of intentional solitude throughout your day, deliberately disconnecting from the digital matrix, and allowing your thoughts to settle into their natural, crystal clear state. It means recognizing that every craving for fame, every impulse to boast, and every desire to argue is simply a shadow cast by your own fragile ego. When you look that ego dead in the eye and refuse to feed it with the cheap validation of the world, its power begins to wither away, replaced by a quiet, indestructible confidence that no external force can ever take from you. You realize that you have already been given everything you need to endure, to conquer, and to maintain your dignity, regardless of what the world decides to do around you. The second phase of this internal mastery demands that you take these principles and apply them to the deepest, most hidden corridors of your psychological architecture, transitioning from the discipline of the mouth to the absolute discipline of the mind. It is a simple thing to remain quiet when you are surrounded by people you do not respect, but it is an entirely different level of warfare to remain silent within your own consciousness when your darkest anxieties, your oldest regrets, and your fiercest desires begin to howl for your attention. The true Stoic fortress is not built out of stone or isolated geographic locations. It is built out of the refined capacity to observe a catastrophic thought entering your mind and to refuse to give it your consent. When you learn to view your own internal chaos with the same cool, detached indifference that you apply to the shouting of the crowd, you have achieved the ultimate level of self-mastery. You no longer fear loneliness because you realize that within your solitude lies the only courtroom that actually matters, a place where your reason stands as the sole judge, jury, and executioner of your destiny. To achieve this state of psychological invulnerability, you must confront the modern addiction to comfort and the absolute dread of empty space. We live in a society that has systematized the elimination of boredom, providing a non-stop stream of cheap stimulation designed to keep the human mind perpetually distracted from its own emptiness. The moment a modern man feels a pang of loneliness or a wave of internal discomfort, he reaches for a screen, seeking a digital narcotic to numb the underlying anxiety of his existence. By doing this, he is reinforcing his own weakness, teaching his mind that it cannot survive without external inputs. The Stoic path requires that you intentionally run toward this discomfort through the practice of voluntary hardship and radical mental fasting. You must train yourself to sit with your boredom, to endure your isolation, and to look directly into the face of your restlessness without reaching for an escape. When you prove to yourself that you can survive the worst of your inner storms without needing a distraction to save you, the world loses all its leverage over your soul. This voluntary exposure to internal friction naturally develops a profound sense of self-sufficiency that changes how you approach your long-term ambitions. Most men fail to achieve their highest potential because they are constantly leaking their creative power through a need for immediate social feedback. They cannot work on a business, a skill, or a philosophy for 6 months in complete secrecy. They feel a desperate need to broadcast their daily grind, to post their progress, and to receive the empty praise of their peers. This premature exposure ruins the work, turning a sacred act of self-creation into a shallow performance for the crowd. The silent master understands that true greatness requires a long, uninterrupted period of incubation. You must be willing to enter the shadows, to let your friends believe you have stalled, and to allow the world to forget your name while you quietly forge your craft. The work must be done for the sake of the work itself, and the internal expansion you experience while overcoming the difficulties of execution must be more than enough to satisfy your ambition. This radical commitment to excellence inevitably forces you to re-evaluate the quality of the people you allow into your private domain. When you spend significant time alone, your tolerance for superficiality completely evaporates. You begin to see that the vast majority of human socialization is not a meaningful exchange of ideas, but a mutual dependency ritual where insecure individuals gather to complain about their fates, gossip about their neighbors, and reinforce each other's bad habits. To allow these low-vibration currents into your life is to commit a slow, subtle form of psychological suicide. Marcus Aurelius warned himself to remember every morning that the people he would deal with that day would be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and unsociable. He did not say this to cultivate hatred, but to prepare his mind so that he would never be shocked or infected by their behavior. You must guard the gates of your attention with a ruthless selectivity, understanding that it is infinitely better to walk completely alone, wrapped in the quiet dignity of your own thoughts, than to degrade your standards for the sake of companionship. As you anchor yourself deeper into this philosophy, you will find that your fear of the future and your regret over the past are completely neutralized by the constant, heavy awareness of your own mortality. The practice of memento mori, remembering that you must die, is the ultimate equalizer of human emotion. When you live with the vivid realization that your existence could be extinguished in the next hour, the petty anxieties that consume the average person become laughably insignificant. Why should you care about a critic's review when both you and the critic will be dust tomorrow? Why should you hoard material possessions or chase empty fame when the universe will completely erase your legacy in a mere blink of cosmic time? This realization does not make a Stoic lazy or nihilistic. Instead, it infuses the present moment with a brilliant, fierce urgency. It strips away all the artificial complexions of pride, fear, and vanity, leaving you with nothing but the raw, essential duty of acting with absolute virtue right now. In the immediate present, To live this way is to become entirely ungraspable by the machinery of the modern world. You stop being a consumer of trends and start becoming a creator of destiny. You no longer look to the horizon for some distant day when everything will be perfect. You realize that perfection is found in the quiet, absolute alignment of your reason with nature in this very second. Whether you are sitting in a prison cell or a palace, whether you are surrounded by thousands of cheering fans or completely abandoned in a strange land, your internal sanctuary remains completely undisturbed. You have discovered the supreme secret that the world can never give you peace, and therefore it can never take it away from you. You are the sole ruler of the empire within your own skull, a ghost to the superficial crowd, but an immovable monument of absolute power to those who truly understand the depth of your silence. Stay alone, speak less, and let the quiet majesty of your character be your ultimate statement to the universe.